Hello, everybody. Welcome to the UGA Sports show called Rumors versus Facts. It's the UGA recruiting show where we talk Georgia Bulldogs recruiting. My name is Rodney Puglisi. I am joined by Jed May and Trent Smallwood, and we have a special guest. You might not have seen too much of him because all the focus has been on some of the local players, but this is a guy who's committed to Georgia. His name is Ryan. I think he plays quarterback at Avon Old Farms. Ryan Puglisi is joining us. It means a lot to us that you were here, Ryan. Thank you very much, and I'm glad everybody can get a chance to see you. And being the publisher, I get to go first. I want to know, how's your season going? I know you just started it. You had a lot of scrimmages. A lot of people don't understand that Avon Old Farms plays on Saturdays. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your season and what you've been doing leading up to kickoff of your season.
Yeah, it's been great. Great start to my senior season so far. And also, first off, just want to say thank you guys for having me on here. I'm super grateful. But, going back to my season, I've had 2 scrimmages so far, and then we just had our first regular season game this past weekend versus the school called Kent near me. And big win. We won 35-0. And then we played the Hun School of Princeton and St. Thomas More as well. We scrimmaged those 2 teams the 2 weekends before, which were 2 really good games. It's been great so far.
A lot of people know Dylan Raiola, number 1 quarterback. They know that you're the other quarterback in it. It drives me crazy to hear that because I'm like, when the coaches recruited you, you committed first. And I know for a fact that they really, really wanted you. What is your relationship like with Raiola? Do you guys talk? And how much do you talk with Georgia on a weekly basis?
Yeah, no, me and Dylan have a good relationship. If you talk to Carson Beck and you talk to Gunnar Stockton and Brock, you ask them how they feel about each other. They'll tell each other that they love. And that's the same thing with me and Dylan. I mean, we're going to be in the same quarterback room. And we're going to push each other to be better, and that's exactly what we want. I mean, you go to the SEC to get better. You go there to compete, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And he has a great family. He's tremendously talented, and super excited to work with him.
Go ahead, Jed. I know you're dying.
Yeah, first of all, it's nice. Last week we were on the show, and the Browns fan in me had to watch Nick Chubb, have his knee explode. So nice I don't have to worry about that tonight. But Ryan, we were talking before you got on the air, and you were saying one thing you've been working on is basically putting some more touch on the ball. Kind of letting up on the arm strength a little bit. Just take everybody through what that process has been like, and just how important it is, like you said, to have the touch to go along with the arm talent you've always had.
Yeah. So, I mean, ever since I was young, I was genetically blessed with an arm, with a strong arm. And, last year we had a really good season, but I found myself overthrowing some of my receivers at points, and missing out on explosive plays can really kill the drive. And my biggest goal this year was to make sure I didn't miss those big explosive plays, because those can be game-defining moments. And that was really the big thing for me. And Pat and Go became my best friend all summer long, just playing catch and just trying to drop the ball in with touch and let my receivers go make the play on it.
What kind of numbers did you put up in those scrimmages? People are stat hounds, and I know if you win 35-0, I'm assuming you didn't play very much of the second half of your first game.
No, I don't remember.
In other words, is the touch working out?
Yeah, no, I don't remember my stats from my first and second scrimmage. I don't think we kept them, but this past game, I think I was 10 for 12 for 3 touchdowns, and I think that was it for the first half.
It's not too shabby. Go ahead, Trent.
Yeah, I just wanted. I mean, I know that you don't like. Dylan's in Athens every weekend because it's convenient. It's just a short drive to the road, but you don't get that opportunity. But I'm taking it. You do get the chance to watch them on TV and stuff. Yeah. What have you taken away from the? I know there's a lot of talk with Monk and Bobo. What have you taken away from any differences, similarities in the offense, and how they're doing so far?
Yeah. No, I mean, I love what they're doing so far. People say a bunch of things, but, I'm really excited with what they've done so far. I love Coach Bobo, and I love what he's doing. I mean, I think you guys can see there's not much has switched in what they've done, because I said this to Jay earlier, but why switch something that's had so much success in the past 2 years? And I think it really focuses on, we saw it versus UAB this weekend, get the playmakers the ball. I mean, Brock Bowers is a beast. If you get him the ball, he's going to make a play for you. And I think that's really what it comes down to is getting playmakers the ball, getting them outside, and getting them going. I think Carson Beck has done a tremendous job. I mean, he takes care of the ball. He takes easy access throws, and yeah, he's going to take a shot when he needs to. But I think from a quarterback standpoint, he's playing really smart and he's playing well.
I think one of the main differences, I guess, what excites you is compared to last year. I think they're throwing 9 more times per game compared to what they were doing last year. So I guess that's good for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Ryan, this is, I asked you about this earlier, but you are going to be a Georgia quarterback in 3 months. Your offensive coordinator was a Georgia quarterback, about 25 years ago. Just how cool is it to be playing for a guy that literally has been through what you've been through, that knows what it's like to be quarterback at the University of Georgia?
Yeah, no, I think that's a big aspect to it. I think having someone who teaches you and coaches you every single day, knowing that he went through this, and he's been in your shoes, and he's played in the same exact stadium, near the same exact facilities, and he's done it all. And I think when you have that, you have a coach that you're playing for that has a different type of love for the school that he's coaching for right now. A lot of coaches, as you guys know, don't play at their school. Coach Bobo played at this school, so he has a different type of love. He's going to coach you a different type of way because he's been in your shoes. And I think having that is going to make you so much better because of the love he has for the University of Georgia.
And it's not the exact same facilities. They've upgraded them a bit.
I mean, a little different. Same area, but definitely.
And I see people over here. Someone's asked about Ny Carr, who obviously decommitted from Georgia yesterday. You were, I'm sure, close with him at quarterback, receiver. But what were and you told me earlier, you got nothing but the best for Ny. He's a good kid, and he'll land somewhere really good. But you had something interesting to say about Kirby Smart's, how he recruits guys, that the pitch he has for guys, for lack of a better term, to come to Georgia. Just kind of let the people in on what is it about Kirby Smart's recruiting and what he tells you recruits to tell guys that kind of gets guys into Athens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, like you just said, wish Ny Carr nothing but the best. Still hoping he becomes a Georgia Bulldog at the end of the day, but wish him nothing but the best. Great kid, great family, and tremendous talent. But, I think just talking to Coach Smart and with the culture that he's built, he wants people that want to be at the University of Georgia. And if you don't want to be there, then don't come. That's pretty much what he says. He wants people that want to be a part of the program. And that's why the culture that he's built and the success that they've had in these past 2 years, that's why they had it. Because the people that are in that room want to be at the University of Georgia. So they'll do whatever it takes when they're there. And obviously recruiting and stuff like that becomes flashy, and people say a lot of things and do things to get guys. But at the end of the day, Coach Smart wants people that want to be at the University of Georgia. And I really think that's what it comes down to. And that's a special message coming from a coach because it shows his confidence and it shows how much that matters to him. Because like Coach Bobo, Coach Smart played in the same exact system. He wore the red and black. He played in Athens, and he's got a different type of love for the school that other coaches have. And I think it's special, his message that he says to these guys and these recruits, including me as well.
Well, that brings up the question, you say that Kirby Smart only wants guys that want to be there. And, I mean, I'm not going to say he has his pick. They go into some very pitched battles, but he's big on, having the right character and having the guys that want to – because, I mean, with the transfer portal, if somebody doesn't want to be there, they're gone next year anyway. So, why waste the spot?
Exactly.
What made you want to be there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I can name off a whole list of things, but
we got time.
Culture stands out to me. Culture definitely stands out to me. I think Coach Smart has built an unbelievable culture that when you're a part of it, the only thing you can do is grow because you're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone every single day, whether you like it or not. And I think the only way you can learn and become the best version of yourself is if you put yourself in those situations. And that's exactly what I'm going to be in every single day. He's going to push me to my limits. Coach Bobo is going to do the same. And you're going to play against the best of the best every single day. And I've had a bunch of good conversations with Carson. We built a really good relationship over the past few months. And he kind of said, you feel like you're doing terrible every single day in practice because you're going against the best. And then you go out there and it's game day and it becomes easy because you've done it every single day. And I think when he said that, it's like, why would I want to be anywhere else? Because I get to go against the best every single day. And that was really a big piece for me, knowing that whether I'm the fourth guy on the list or the first guy, I'm still going to be going against the best, and I'm going to get better every single day. So when my time is called, I'm going to be ready.
Well, let's. Speaking of when your time is called, how many people catch a Avon Old Farms game? How many folks you got in the stands?
That like family wise, or just people in general?
Or just people in general.
Biggest game we had last year was when we played Loomis Chafee, and that game had a lot of hype around it because like Reese Davis shouted it out on College Game Day, and I think there was probably close to 10,000 people at that game.
All right, so you're playing in front of 10,000, which is considerable. I mean, that's a hell of a game.
Especially, the people that don't know where it is, Avon's in the middle of nowhere, so to have 10,000 people here is pretty special.
Folks, I highly recommend you go look at the Avon Old Farms website. Check out this school. It's an all-boys school, right?
All boys, yeah. Suit and tie.
And what's the dress code like every day?
Suit and tie.
Suit and tie, all-boys school.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was teasing Ryan before he came on and said, "Look, the place looks like Hogwarts." From my kind of, I mean, look where he's at right now. Look at the background there. It's a beautiful campus, beautiful school, very well done. But Ryan, are you ready to come be in front of 92,000 people? And you've seen the comments online. Carson Beck had a hell of a game on Saturday, in my opinion. I mean, he got 8 drives, moved on 7 of the 8, zoomed down the field. 6 of them he scored a touchdown, and there were still people kind of complaining about a couple deep shots there, which is fine. Everybody wants perfection. But are you ready for that kind of, I don't want to say culture change, but it's going to be a bit different to play in the South, to play in front of 93,000 screaming fans. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, everyone who steps in those shoes is going to be a little bit of a culture shock at first. But you get used to it. And that's the biggest thing, is just putting yourself in positions to get used to it. And like I said before, I'm going to do that every single day because that's what Coach Smart has built. I'm going to be uncomfortable every single day, so that when I'm in front of 92,000, I'm used to it. I've done it every single day because I've been in these situations every day. Not to the extent in front of 92,000, but the little things. And they build up, doing things that you don't like to do every single day, or something that doesn't feel normal, comfortable to you. They add up, and it builds over time, this confidence, where it's only becomes you playing football on the field. And at the end of the day, that's really what it is. You're out there with your 10 other teammates, and you guys are going to battle every single day, and that's really what matters. Yeah, there's 92,000 people watching, but you guys are the ones down there playing.
Georgia's got talent on offense, defense. That's the way they've recruited. Anybody in particular that you're looking forward to playing against on that defense side? Because you're coming in, you'll be the young guy come spring. There'll be some guys move on, some seniors, but there's a good chance you're going to be going up against some talented secondary players that are at Georgia right now. Is there anybody in particular you're looking forward to going up against?
My guy Joe Now, Massachusetts kid, Ellis Robinson too, both New England guys. So just to be able to go up against those guys, because they're from where I'm from, and obviously they have a bunch of talent. So also being able to go against them and get better, but also knowing, I mean, we're from the same area. We're both all 3 New England guys, so it's cool to have that. And all the other 5 stars that are on the defense.
Who else are you recruiting?
KJ Bolden for sure. I mean, and obviously Ny Carr, try to get him back. It's not over till it's over, and obviously we're going to go out there and get the best talent we can.
Jed, do you have any more? I know you got a story coming, so I don't want to give away all your questions.
Right. This is one I didn't ask earlier, but Ryan, you were talking about, you've been genetically blessed with arm talent. I'm assuming you've played quarterback, played football for a long time.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite memory, favorite play, favorite game? I mean, what are if I asked you to stack up the highlights of your football career to this point, what's the one that kind of jumps to the top first?
So last year, definitely is my favorite moment. We were playing this school called Choate Rosemary Hall. They're about an hour down the street, and we were down 36-7 in the fourth quarter, and came back, brought it to 36-35 in one quarter, and obviously, I mean, it stinks, but we didn't capitalize. We went for 2 to win it. We didn't get it, but just being able to go through that and come back with my guys was a surreal moment. That was definitely one of the better moments I've had. And also, I wish you guys could experience it, but our locker rooms are way up top on a hill, and it overlooks the football field, which is down below. And just every Saturday night when it's 6:30 and all you see is the lights and you're up top there, and before you walk down for the field, it's always a special moment.
All right, we're gonna have to hire one of your classmates to basically just film that walk down there. Just get behind you. So if you got somebody with some video skills, send them our way. We're gonna get that video to show people what it looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
Last question, unless the other guys have one. I know you talked to Mike Bobo a lot. Has he sent you the plays? Is he showing you, telling you to get ready? Because, it seems like you're going to be here pretty quickly. Are you watching what Georgia does on Saturdays going, okay, this is this play, this is that, my responsibilities here, here's my read? Are you doing all that sort of stuff with Mike Bobo? Or what is he telling you each week?
Yeah, I think obviously being able to, when I can, watch the games every weekend have been really good. It's tough sometimes because I play on Saturday as well. But just being able to do what we can with Coach Bobo and talking about that stuff, obviously we do what we can. And being able to learn as much as we can with the circumstances that we're given have been great. But, yeah, I love the offense that they run, and I can't wait to be a part of it.
Awesome. You guys have anything else you want to ask him before we let him go? I know he's got homework, so.
That's it for me.
Well, they were good.
All right. Hey, Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. That has made our night, and you can log off now. I know you got a lot of homework to do. That's the academic standards there at Avon Old Farms are no joke. So
I'm going to go get it done.
We know you got your homework to do. And, again, we will be following you and your progress throughout the season. We look forward to you getting here in December where we can cover you in person. We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you so much. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Ryan.
Well, I thought that was a pretty good interview. He's going to be a crowd favorite.
Yeah. Some people mentioned it in the comments over here, just very, mature and well-spoken, which and Dylan Raiola is too. That's what you would expect in a quarterback when you're looking for guys to come in and be ready to compete day one. And I think what he said, because everyone wonders, would he flip? If he gets on campus, doesn't start, would he transfer? But what he mentioned about Carson Beck there, you feel like you suck in practice, and then the game comes and he knows he's going to be developed whether he's playing on Saturdays or not. And who better to say that than Carson Beck, who has been mostly on the bench for the past 3 years. So, I thought that was some good insight into basically his thought process on why he still feels Georgia is the best place for him with another quarterback committed in the same class.
You go into all boys school, you got to be mature to handle that. So,
Yeah.
It'd be a little bit of a shell shock coming to Athens with just the females around alone coming from all boys school.
It's like 60-40 girls to guys in these classes now. So good luck, Ryan. Hey, to be the Georgia quarterback, he's going to have a fun college career. Again, I didn't want to get too much into it with him, but I do want to make the point that everyone kind of considers him the other guy. Now, we do a lot with Dylan Raiola. I actually have on my phone a bunch of video clips from his last game that I'm trying to get together, and we'll put it out on Facebook. We'll put it out on YouTube and TikTok. We actually have somebody at every one of his games because I know somebody at Buford that can shoot all his games. So, and we've interviewed him a lot because he's an hour away, even less. Trent, how far are you from Buford? About 13 minutes,
About 6.
So we cover him a lot, but getting up to Connecticut's a little bit tougher. So I was glad to have him on, mainly because a lot of people just have that, he's already the backup. And I'm like, I didn't get that vibe from him. And talking to people inside the program, they think he stands just as good a chance of being your starter when you get to that 2025 class as Raiola. He's a really talented guy. And like you said, Jed, he's having to learn to take a little bit off of his throws because he's throwing too bloody hard. We've seen quarterbacks do that. Matt Stafford had to learn that touch. He came in with that cannon of an arm. So I'm like, look, if when he gets here, understand that there's going to be a race between those two. And he sounds like he's excited for it.
And this is a guy that Georgia had pegged higher on the board than Julian Sagan. After coming in,
higher than the Jade Davises of the world, all these 24 quarterbacks, and he was kind of the one. Because again, when Dylan Raiola committed to Ohio State, Georgia was still in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. Then I was like, okay, is it Sagan? Is it Jaden Davis? And Puglisi is the one that they wanted. And he mentioned this to me earlier. I committed to Todd Monken. Mike Bobo was involved in that decision making too. He obviously was an analyst and things like, with probably the idea that he eventually could be an offensive coordinator one day at Georgia if and when Monken moved on. So it's not like, Georgia wanted him, like you said, Trent. He was the guy that they wanted. And obviously, Dylan Raiola came back on the market. Georgia went after him and got him, and that's great. But like you've said, Roddy, Ryan Puglisi is far from the quote-unquote other guy. They are both extremely, extremely talented guys that Georgia wanted right off the bat.
Yeah, how do you do the Elite 11?
Pretty good. And that's another thing. Like, Elite 11 is called Elite 11 for a reason. Other people are starting to recognize his talent. I mean, they play, considering it's in Connecticut, I believe, pretty good competition for Northeastern football. So it's not like he's playing the Little Sisters of the Poor or whatever. He plays pretty good, and that's a good athletic school. So again, he's far from the other guy. I think he has what it takes to be a SEC quarterback, both on the field and mentally. You can just kind of get that mental vibe from him when you're talking to him. We just
I think what it boils down to is he wouldn't be listed as other guy if Jed ranked him higher. So
true.
Yeah, it's our fault.
True. And
well, it's Jed's fault for doing the rankings.
Yeah.
Right. I only just recently got him into the top 250. So we said before he got on the show, he's a Red Sox fan, so that's kind of contributing to my bias there a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, even with my bias, he's a really good player.
Now, I do think that if you talk to the people that we talk to, and I talk to people within the Georgia program and outside the Georgia program, and I know Trent and Jed do as well, there are a lot of schools that are jealous of the two quarterbacks that Georgia has committed, and they're going to work to get one of them and try it. So let's kind of let us go from there, talking about Ny Carr, very talented wide receiver, committed to Georgia. Not a lot of people knew who he was early on. Georgia gets commitment. He decommits this week, and that was a blow. I think Jed, you on the board, pointed out that this isn't like, oh, okay, they lost a sixth offensive lineman. They don't have a lot of wide receivers committed, and this guy's pretty damn good. You've covered him extensively, and every time you've been the one, ringing the bell saying Ny Carr needs to move up in the rankings. This kid's electric. So tell us a little bit about the Ny Carr decommitment and kind of what's going on with him now.
Yeah, Ny Carr is really good, first of all. I mean, he can go up and get it. He's electric with the ball in his hands. He is bordering on 5-star status in my rankings for a reason. And when this happened yesterday, it seemed like it kind of took everybody by surprise, because he had been one of these guys that has flirted with other schools for so long. Landon Thomas, his high school teammate, flipped from Georgia to Florida State. But it seemed like things had quieted down. I went and saw him a couple weeks ago, and he was saying that, I'm locked in, and, people shouldn't worry about me taking visits to other schools and all this kind of stuff.
Well, he wasn't worried. He was committed 100% or 1,000%.
Right. And, some Colquitt County people I talked to yesterday were surprised by this. Some commits I talked to were surprised. Further reporting from Adam Gorney seemed to indicate, he was kind of thinking about it when he visited for the South Carolina game. Went another week. Brian McClendon was at his game the following Friday, or I guess this past Friday, and he decided to pull the trigger and decommit anyway. So, yeah, I mean, from the Georgia perspective, it's a blow. He is really good. You can make an argument he's the best receiver in this class, or that was committed to Georgia, the 3 commits. And listen, Sakobi White is a really, really good player. Nitro Tuggle is a really, really good player. But I think it's fair to say that what the expectations for this receiver class might have been at one point and where it is right now are two different things. I think earlier this spring there were visions of landing a 5-star or 2 and getting up to the 4 really, really good players. And again, Sakobi White, Nitro Tuggle are very good. I don't mean to make it seem like Georgia is in a really bad spot here, because they're not. But now it's gone from potentially having the class done at this point to now you've got 2 guys committed, and you're in scramble mode a little bit to try to find a third if you want to take a third or fourth from high school, because there's a lot of guys out there committed to other schools who came on a visit to Georgia. Georgia's offered, but it's not like it was a battle between Georgia and Oregon or whatever. The kid chose Oregon. Now Georgia could try to get it back. And there's not a lot of guys out there like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes, whether they do somehow manage a flip, whether it's a late evaluation guy. Do they try to take 2 out of the portal like they did this past year? I don't know. There's a lot of, I guess, unknown at that spot, kind of like there is with defensive back. Is it going to be late eval? Is it portal? Is it someone on the board mentioned junior college? That's an option. So the class that we've all talked about being close to being done for a while just added a decent amount of intrigue over the next 3 months.
I think the interesting part is not really interesting part, but what draws people to this decommitment is the wide receiver position, of course, and that's something that Georgia has struggled to land. Those top tier wide receivers, and to be honest, I don't think this decommitment necessarily has anything to do about where Georgia's offense is right now, where it's headed. I think I just think there's other things involved outside of just where he fits at an offense or how many balls, how many targets they're getting, because Georgia honestly are targeting the wide receivers a lot more than they have in years past. They're trying to get playmakers the ball in the playmakers' hands. So I think it has a lot more to do with factors outside of the wide receiver position, but it's going to be looked on and frowned upon because it's that wide receiver position, and that's what Georgia's really struggled with. And until Georgia's able to fix that, or as I say, get 1,000-yard receiver or whatever, they're going to be critiqued on that subject.
No, you're right, and you can point to the fact that Georgia's throwing the ball. I mean, it looks like a pass-first offense to me. The numbers don't lie. Now, Kirby says, well, some of those passes are runs. I'm like, okay, but to the general public and to anybody who's negatively recruiting against Georgia, like, yeah, they throw the ball all over the place, but this is the 3rd game out of 4 in which you've had, 10, 11, 12 guys catch a pass. How are you going to shine when, you're not getting 6, 7 balls? Or the guy they threw 9 balls to, they're throwing to a tight end. Or a running back was their leading receiver a couple of years ago. It's just, I understand how the negative recruiting works, because you don't have to be, put it in context. And you could say that, they haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver, and it works. But I'm with you from what we've heard about this situation. And here's the new world we live in. A kid can be 100% committed, 1,000% committed, but then all of a sudden somebody comes in with a new NIL deal, and you're like, wow, I would be stupid. I mean, this is where my heart is, but I got to take care of my family. And this is head and shoulders a better deal, than what I was getting. So, I mean, you get out of college, you ideally, where you want to work, but you go where the job is, and you go where the money is, so sometimes you have to do what's best for your future, what's best for your family. And it's not always the best place. It's not always where your heart is. So that's not to say, no, Ny Carr's hard or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm not going to be more surprised anymore by a quick decommitment kind of out of the blue. But I'll also not be surprised by Georgia flipping guys, because they've been able to do that as well. So somebody who's been committed to another team for a long time and all of a sudden decommits and goes to Georgia, we see that happen all the time, but we tend to focus on the ones that flip away. So that's just the way it goes. We did have a question about that. From Andy Stowe, let me pop his question in here. Andy asked, with the Ny Carr decommitment, should we expect any more decommits, or is this kind of a one-off deal? Is the class under attack? Is the Georgia recruiting class for 2024 falling apart? Is it just going to hell, or is this kind of a one-off deal?
I mean, I don't think you can rule out other decommitments just because there's 3 months till signing day and anything can happen. But I don't think the class is under attack or anything like that. I mean, I'm off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of guys who. I mean, Nnamdi Ogboko visited Notre Dame for their game with Ohio State over the weekend, which, even though I lost, was fantastic atmosphere and all that. So I I don't know. I mean, again, is it 100% guaranteed that the 20, how many guys are committed? 26 guys who are committed right now all sign on signing day? No, like that's not a guarantee by any means. But I think Ny Carr's decision was, I don't know, not indicative of a larger problem, I guess, if that answers Andy's question at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. Question there from Rawl55. For wide receivers, do we go to the portal or do they go for flips? So is Georgia going to try to flip some folks or just go to the portal? I mean, in the portal, you got the number one wide receiver for Mississippi State. You got the number one wide receiver for Missouri, who had proven themselves. And, Georgia played against them and respected both of them and landed them. It seems like you got some definite success there. But at the same time, I could also see Georgia flipping like they did George Pickens. Yeah,
I mean, and it's kind of like I mentioned earlier, there aren't a lot of guys out there who like a Luther Burden from a couple of years ago, for example. Like, okay, it's Georgia, Missouri. He chooses Missouri. Maybe we can get him to choose us. Like, there's guys, there was some mutual interest out there, but like some of those guys weren't takes to begin with. So, and I don't think Georgia is in a position where they would just take a guy to take a guy. They still got to be a take and a guy that fits what Kirby wants in the program. I did look yesterday. There are 3 receivers other than Ny Carr uncommitted and have a Georgia offer. One is Ryan Wingo, who it feels like is going elsewhere. One is Hunter Modden out of Texas, has a Georgia offer. And one, I should have pulled his last name is Thompson. He's from Alabama, and a guy I haven't heard a whole lot about. So, but again, late evals, guys get on campus late. There's a lot of options there. A junior college guy who gets some tape out there. Because Trent, I don't know. I think, when they had 3 receivers and it's like, okay, just go to the portal for a 4th one. I don't think you can guarantee and say, oh, well, we'll just go to the portal and get 2 receivers, because there might not be 2 receivers you think would fit the program from the portal. There might not be 2 receivers you think that want to come to Georgia out of the portal. And obviously it worked out well last year, but I think your better bet might be trying to find one more guy from high school and then maybe going to the portal for that last guy to get to 4.
Yeah, I agree. You really can't sit back and count on the portal to be your savior at a certain position. It is bringing in 2 or 3 guys or having 2 or 3 guys that you want to bring into the program, but at the same time, you got to make sure that room stays filled. You got to make sure you still have the depth, and the only way to do that is to recruit out of high school. And if you have, a position or somebody that you think is going to make you better, or 2 guys you think are going to make you better, then pull them in. And it might be 1 year, it might be 2 years. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. I think you got to go. You still got to recruit. You can't count on that portal to be your savior at a position, but at the same time, Kirby's going to do everything possible to have the best roster as possible. So if a wide receiver that he's familiar with goes in the portal, oh, great. But he's going to make sure that his depth is, filled at that position through the high school recruiting.
You can just keep throwing the tight ends. I'm fine with that. That's just me.
Well, here's the thing. You see Brock getting 9-10 targets per game, and honestly, I love Oscar Delp and I love Georgia's tight ends, but they do not have another Brock Bowers. I don't think you're going to force feed a certain tight end on that roster currently 10 balls per game. And it's kind of like you saw with Kenny McIntosh. Those targets have went to wide receivers more this year. They don't have a running back besides Cash, really, that you can really count on in the passing game significantly. So I think you're starting to see you're going to start to see more wide receiver targets come next year. Even if you limit that, you take that number and subtract 4 or 5 from Brock. Give those to Oscar, but then you got 4 or 5 targets going back towards wide receivers. And I think you'll start seeing that go back towards wide receivers a little more, just because you don't have a Brock Bowers, which is, as y'all know, special talent, and having him on campus.
Lawson Lucky will do it. No, and I'm an advocate for it. We always want what we don't have, right? So, but when they weren't throwing the tight ends, I was tweeting weekly about throw it to the tight ends, and kind of became a gimmick. But it was seeing how successful it was elsewhere, and I'm like, I know you got really good tight ends, and then of course you got Brock came and it started working out. And you're right, I don't say he's a unicorn. To me, Darnell Washington was a unicorn. That's a once in a generation type guy. But I would say Brock Bowers is generational because I've told the story many times when I was at the NFL Combine to have an NFL coach come up to me and we get to talking, and he's like, what about that Brock Bowers kid? I mean, he actually checked to see if he was eligible to come out. I don't think he knew anybody else on the Georgia roster, but he knew Brock Bowers. He knew Stetson Bennett. He didn't remember his name, but he's like the smallish quarterback that's just a winner. He was waiting. They're waiting on Brock Bowers to come out. So that tells you how special he is. And you're right. When he's gone, now all of a sudden those passes go to other places. And I think Marshall had a question. It's like, if you're a top receiver, do you want to go to a top program that uses 3 receivers or one that uses 11 receivers in a game? I'm like, you want to put up those numbers. You put up the numbers, it gets you noticed by the NFL, but it also gets in this era of NIL. You can have 11 guys, everybody gets a catch, and everybody can have a show. But if a lot of these guys think, if I'm the household name, if everyone's buying the Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey, then I need numbers to get that following, to get that next deal. So.
And I think here's the problem with Georgia's schedule. It has to do that's a big reason why a lot of these guys are getting Georgia's completing 11, 12 balls to receivers a game. You go back and look at South Carolina, you got Dominic Levitt playing a ton of snaps. You got Arian Smith playing a ton of snaps. Georgia was really down to like a 5-6 man rotation at that wide receiver position, but Georgia has had the benefit of being up by a lot of points on the other 3 teams and playing a lot of guys. And I think you're going to see that rotation slim way down coming into SEC play. But I think that is a problem with Georgia's schedule is I know McClendon has went to a smaller rotation last year when, in SEC play. And I think you probably catch a lot of negative recruiting, but at the same time, Georgia hasn't had to, play 3 or 4 or have a 4 or 5 man rotation at the wide receiver position yet because of the leads they've had. And I think,
but here's the thing. But has it cost them? Did it cost them a Jermaine Burton? Did it cost them an AD Mitchell?
It probably did, but it also you looking back at that Georgia Alabama national championship a few years ago. Georgia had receivers hurt. Alabama got their top 2 receivers hurt. Alabama didn't have depth behind them, and Georgia did. So
I agree.
Are you playing? Are you playing for national championships? Or are you playing to please people? And I think that Kirby's done a great job of building depth behind his positions.
I agree with the decision. I'm all for getting 11 guys a pass or getting them completion. You build that experience, but also guys like, look, I'm catching passes. I haven't just been a walk on. Well, take a Jackson Meeks. It's like I've actually got passes for me. They've designed a play for me. I'm getting out there. I'm giving my all on special teams. I'm rewarded with something in the game. And especially your young guys, you try to throw to Zeke Haynes. You try to throw to Tyler Williams. Those guys get that. In other words, the first time you're relying on them isn't against Auburn on the road, on a 3rd and 8. They've actually caught a pass earlier and you're ready for it. The butterflies are gone because this isn't your first time trying to catch a pass for Georgia. So I think the philosophy is good, but I can also see how it's used in negative recruiting. And I'm not saying that that's what happened with Ny Carr, but, I can see saying, look, come to this offense that features you more. Well, when we spoke to Aaron Gregory, I guess he's maybe the top. Is he the top receiver in the 2025 class? I mean, I know he's one of the top players in the country.
Yeah.
He's a Georgia product, and he's like, oh, man, the way USC uses their wide receivers, the way Ohio State uses their wide receivers. I'm like, what about Georgia? He's like, yeah, they run the ball a lot. And, they got a good defense. I'm like, okay. It kind of pops up there. So, but to your point, Trent, you're right. It's like, are you trying to win a national championship or are you trying to make people happy? So I'm with you. Let's go to the next question there from Dog Bite You. Says, what are these top recruits really being offered? Not looking for names, but NIL has been around long enough that we should know kind of what the ballpark numbers look like. So what are some of the numbers that you guys legitimately believe are being paid in some of these big NIL deals?
Legitimately believe is an interesting phrase. I mean, you hear so many different things. I mean, Trent, I'm sure you've heard too. Like, I mean, these offers can get into some of the things you hear. It's, six figures, a few $100,000, and that's a year. That could be for the duration of the thing. I mean, you hear all kind of stuff, and you have to take it with a grain of salt because it's often, fourth or fifth hand. These things are a bit murky at best for the people in them, right? So, but you hear a lot of stuff, and some of it just makes you think, yeah, that is a lot of money for a guy who has not played a down of high school football, no matter who it is, whether it's a receiver, it's a running back, it's an offensive tackle, it's a corner, quarterback, whatever. It's you definitely hear a lot of things out there for sure.
And here's my thing: are you paying a high school receiver that you're not, sure will adjust to the speed of the game or whatever, be it how they are in the locker room? Are you paying them $250,000 or whatever per year to come up there? Or are you going to go and get pay a guy like Dominic Lovett, NIL, the same thing that what you're going to get from him, and you've seen him play in the SEC. I think that's the main thing is what are you getting, and what if it don't work out, and you got this situation at hand. So I think
Texas A&M, excuse me.
I mean, and Texas A&M was the kind of the blueprint behind it. But there's a lot more schools doing it now because here's the thing: if a coach don't win in 3 years, he's fired, and there's only one coach winning the last 2 years, so everybody's on the hot seat, and everybody's if you're not winning national championship, you're gone. And I think that's the product we've gotten into. You look at all these schools, such as like Nebraska's and stuff like that, or do you have a chance to even rebuild, or do you just have to go pay your way and try to do it right now? And I think that's where people have gotten to. I think FSU's and the Miami's, we got to win now, or my job's at jeopardy. And some of them pay off, some of them don't. But it's a chance that these coaches have to take because they're looking at their own families.
Yeah, and you're a $7, $8, $9, $10, $11 million a year coach. You got offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators making $1 million a piece or $2 million. If you reach out to your NIL and you say, "Hey, look, I got a defensive end. He wants $300,000." Fine, it's not coming out of your paycheck. You've got boosters out there that'll pay it. And you're like, "Hey, let's get this kid in here." And now, suppose the idea is that the kid will be the face of that NIL deal. He'll put ads out there, and you see a good number of ads, but a lot of it's the requirements from the student athletes is pretty low end. But I'm not going to. That's a story, a conversation for a different time. But if the question was, what are some numbers that are thrown out there? And I will tell you for a fact that I know the one school that was going to give $25,000 a month to a top defensive end or a defensive tackle or a defensive player. He's one of the top players in the nation. This is like a top 50 kid. And it's like, okay, he's going to get $25,000 at NIL through some card dealership or big corporation who's, they're willing to spend it. So we're not talking $10,000 here and there. We're not talking millions where we've heard. I've seen some people say, "Oh, this kid has a $6 million NIL deal." Bull crap.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, professional athletes aren't getting some of those NIL deals. So,
if Tennessee had a $6 million NIL deal, they should have changed quarterbacks after the second week.
Right, but it's not unusual when we say six figures. 100,000, 300,000, it is happening. And I'm not saying every kid's getting that. I mean, I don't know that Ryan Puglisi is going to get, $300,000 from Georgia. Well, I know he's not. But what if another school comes and offers him that? Now all of a sudden you're like, I spoke with Georgia. I'm a true freshman. I love what's going on there. But Penn State needs a quarterback, and they've got an NIL deal worth $450,000. Again, whereas before, a kid would never even, or some kids would be like, no, this is my dream school. I'm so excited. I've been committed for 2 years. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, well, I have to think about that. So that's why any surprise deals at the end or surprise movements they're not surprising anymore, because the guys are there's new calculus, if you will, with the whole NIL world. And Georgia can do the same thing. You can have a kid committed to a school for a long time, and then the Classic City Collective says, look, we've got a restaurant chain that wants to make you wants you to be the face of their franchises. So when you get here, once you sign with Georgia, they're going to come talking to you, and it's probably going to be a high six-figure deal. Like, oh, well, I've been going to Notre Dame for hell, a year and a half. But if I go to Georgia, I can win, play for championships. I like their offense, or I like their defense, and I could make $500,000. Hell yeah! So it's going to get wilder as we get into it further and further. All right, let's hit another question here from KSDJ 1869. Are there any 2025 recruits you're expecting commitment from this fall? Also, who do you think we have at the top of our QB board for the 2025 class? From what I've read here, Montgomery seems like the guy at this point. Who else should we keep our eyes on? So any 2025 commits likely, and what's the quarterback board? What's the quarterback board look like?
So I'll take the first part, because again, it's obviously really early for 25 kids. They've got a full year before they can sign. One name to watch is Zayden Walker, who I went and saw on Friday night. He's listed as an outside linebacker. Georgia wants him as an inside guy. And I asked him, I was like, do you have any kind of timeline in mind? And he said something to the effect of, yeah, it's not going to be too far from now, or something like that. So, he doesn't have a date or even like a range of dates, but not too far from now makes you think it would be this fall at some point. Georgia is in a good spot there. They hosted him for the South Carolina game. Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann. I've got a story coming on tomorrow, but Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, Dell McGee is in contact with him because he used to be recruited as a running back. Georgia is in a good spot there. And again, he plans to get back to Athens this fall. And again, he kind of hinted that a decision could be coming sooner rather than later.
That'll be a big one. All right, Trent, is Georgia even going to take a 2025 quarterback? It's a stupid question to ask, but at the same time, I'm like, they're getting two of the best next year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's going to be, what can Georgia hold on to on his current roster. I think that'll be, and I think that's when the ultimate decision will be made. I don't think a decision will be made till probably after December. See where Georgia stands, see where Carson Beck stands as far as coming back next year. And right now I would assume Carson Beck comes back, but you never know what the rest of the year holds. Does a quarterback transfer out? Does two quarterbacks transfer out? I think a lot will depend on that with numbers. I know that they've been in talks with 2025 quarterbacks, and they just can't give them a solid answer of, are we going to take one or not, or are you at the top of our priority board or not? And I think that's including Ryan Montgomery. Ryan Montgomery is the name we've heard about for a long time, but I think he himself is still uncertain where he stands on the board. And I think there's several schools that have taking advantage of that, and I think Georgia is okay with where they are. We're taking two quarterbacks this year with their current quarterback room, and right now, as of today, I don't expect them to take quarterback in 25, but I think a lot depends on what they're doing with their roster. What happens with the roster? Do they have 4 quarterbacks on scholarship next year? Do they have 3 quarterbacks on scholarship next year? I think if they're down to 3, they take one, but I think if they're at 4, they hold tight.
That makes perfect sense. Awesome. All right. Any last comments before we break for the evening?
Nope. Again, we've got stories on Puglisi coming, Zayden Walker coming, Lance McCurley, who, as Trent, said in our group text earlier, was a slacker and couldn't make it tonight. He's got stories coming from guys he's seen. So, keep it tuned to the vault for all your updates.
Hey, you had a good story today on Tyler Atkinson.
Yeah,
That
it
is,
was what number 7 player
number
in
7 in the country, and he's right there, Grace.
He's a freak, man. He's freaky athletic. I don't know exactly where he will end up as far as position at the next level, inside or outside linebacker. But he's a stud. He's absolutely a stud.
I'm thinking 6'3", 205 pounds as a 10th grader. Reminds me of some kid named Kim Dichi or something. Just a monster on the field at Grayson.
I've seen him rush off the edge at times for Grayson, and he's so fast and twitchy and explosive. It's crazy, but he's also got the athleticism, play in space and cover and all that kind of stuff. So he's going to be, he's only a sophomore, like you said. So it's going to be really interesting to watch over the next couple of years, see how he grows and develops.
So anyway, go read that at the front page of UGAsports.com, and then be sure to swing by tomorrow for the Walker story, and then be sure to stick around for the Puglisi story. Good stuff coming from our friends at UGAsports.com. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. We appreciate everybody joining us, and I hope you will join us again next Monday night when we talk about a lot of the Georgia rumors that are out there, and we'll try to bring you facts as much as we can. For Trent Smallwood and Jed May, I'm Rodney DeBulsey. We'll see you later.